You don't buy a .44 Magnum because it's comfortable. You buy it because someday comfort may not matter. Out in the backcountry, danger doesn't send a warning text. There's no countdown clock, no opportunity to mentally prepare, and no second chance to rethink your gear. One moment you're hiking a trail, enjoying the quiet. The next, the brush erupts, branches crack, and your entire world narrows down to one question. Can you actually use the revolver you brought with you right now? That's the part most people avoid talking about. A .44 Magnum isn't a magical shield against danger. It's not a lucky charm hanging from your belt. It's a machine. And when adrenaline floods your body, your breathing becomes shallow, your vision starts to narrow, and your hands begin shaking. That machine either remains controllable or it becomes nothing more than dead weight. The uncomfortable reality is that many of the revolvers praised online as the ultimate bare defense guns can become liabilities when things turn chaotic. They punish the shooter, fight against good shooting mechanics, and slow down critical follow-up shots when every fraction of a second matters. Today, we're cutting through the hype and looking at 7 of the best .44 Magnum revolvers for survival use, not as collector pieces or safe queens, but as practical tools that might one day be called upon to save your life. And by the end of this list, you'll understand why choosing the wrong setup doesn't just reduce performance. It can create serious problems when the stakes are at their highest. Welcome back to the channel. Grab a seat and let's dive in. Starting off our list is the Smith Wesson Model 69. At first glance, the reasoning behind this revolver seems completely sound, especially for outdoorsmen who count every ounce before heading into the mountains. Built on Smith & Wesson's L-frame platform, the Model 69 is noticeably smaller and lighter than the traditional N-frame revolvers most shooters associate with the .44 Magnum. It carries 5 rounds instead of 6, allowing for a more compact cylinder and a lighter overall package. For someone carrying a backpack, survival gear, and other equipment all day long, shaving roughly half a pound off a sidearm sounds like a smart decision. The revolver carries comfortably, clears the holster quickly, and still chambers one of the most respected defensive cartridges ever developed. But this is where the illusion of comfort begins to collide with reality. The Model 69 solves a carry problem while introducing a serious shooting problem. In a real emergency, you probably won't be carefully cocking the hammer and taking a deliberate single action shot. You'll be running the gun in double action under stress. Your grip will tighten, your heart rate will spike, and you'll be fighting for control while trying to get rounds on target. Throw in freezing temperatures, winter gloves, rain, or numb hands, and things become even more difficult. When a lightweight revolver launches a full power .44 Magnum load, the recoil is not merely stout, it's aggressive. The muzzle snaps sharply upward, the wrist angle breaks abruptly, and the shock travels directly through your arm. The cartridge delivers tremendous power, but the gun lacks the weight needed to absorb enough of that energy. As a result, control becomes the challenge. Under stress, recoil can throw the first shot off target and make rapid follow-up shots extremely difficult. The revolver becomes something many people carry frequently, but practice with sparingly, and that's a dangerous combination when muscle memory matters most. The advantages are obvious: reduced weight, compact dimensions, and excellent portability for everyday wilderness carry. The drawbacks are equally clear: 5-round capacity, harsh recoil, and significant muzzle rise with heavy defensive ammunition. The Smith & Wesson Model 69 carries a manufacturer's suggested retail price, of $979, with street prices commonly landing around $855. But if your solution is simply to buy something heavier, the next revolver shows that weight alone doesn't solve every problem. The Taurus Raging Bull is one of those revolvers that immediately grabs your attention the moment you see it in a gun store. It's massive. It's imposing. It looks like it was built specifically to stop anything on four legs. The revolver features a heavily ported barrel, a substantial underlug, and Taurus's distinctive red rubber backstrap insert designed to cushion recoil. On paper, it appears to be exactly what many shooters want in a heavy Magnum revolver. Taurus attacked the recoil problem by adding weight wherever possible. The heavy underlug acts as a counterbalance, while the barrel ports vent gases upward to help reduce muzzle rise during firing. Pick one up, and it feels like a sledgehammer. And to be fair, that mass does a respectable job absorbing recoil from heavy hunting and defensive loads. The issue isn't recoil, the issue is consistency. When it comes to a revolver you may trust during a life-threatening encounter, reliability is not optional, it's mandatory. Unfortunately, the Raging Bull has developed a long-standing reputation for uneven quality control. Some examples perform flawlessly for decades. Others experience timing issues, lockwork problems, or trigger pulls that feel rough and inconsistent. That uncertainty becomes a concern when discussing a dedicated survival revolver. Then there are the ports. While they certainly help reduce recoil, they also create significant muzzle flash and blast. In a close-range encounter where the revolver may be fired from a retention position, that upward blast can send hot gases and powder particles toward the shooter's face. The last thing anyone needs during a violent encounter is a cloud of debris interfering with vision. The strengths of the Raging Bull include its relatively affordable price, substantial recoil reduction, and impressive weight. The weaknesses include inconsistent trigger quality, concerns about ported blast, and reliability questions that have followed the platform for years. The Taurus Raging Bull lists for approximately $1,050, though street prices often hover around $780. Now we're moving into territory occupied by some truly legendary names, and one of the most respected Magnum revolvers ever built is coming up next. With its 7.5-inch barrel, the Ruger Super Redhawk is less of a revolver and more of a mechanical tank. Ruger deliberately overbuilt this platform. Think of it as the firearms equivalent of a heavy-duty diesel truck designed to work under impossible conditions. The revolver uses an extended frame that surrounds the barrel shank, creating one of the strongest lockups in the industry. It's capable of digesting extremely powerful hand loads and heavy hunting ammunition without complaint. The long barrel maximizes velocity, helping heavy projectiles deliver substantial energy downrange. For hunters, the Super Redhawk is a remarkable piece of engineering. Ruger even machined scope ring cuts directly into the frame, making optics installation simple. As a hunting revolver, it excels. As a survival sidearm, however, things become more complicated. The biggest problem is size. Carrying a revolver this large all day can feel like hauling an anchor around your waist. That reality often leads people to leave it in the truck rather than carry it consistently, which defeats the entire purpose of a wilderness sidearm. In an emergency, drawing a revolver with a 7.5-inch barrel can be surprisingly slow. Whether carried on the chest or hip, that long barrel requires more movement to clear the holster and more room to maneuver under pressure. A sidearm that takes too long to deploy is difficult to justify, regardless of its ballistic advantages. the Super Redhawk offers phenomenal durability, excellent recoil absorption, and the ability to handle maximum pressure loads with ease. Its disadvantages are equally significant: enormous size, cumbersome handling, and a slower draw stroke when speed matters most. The Ruger Super Redhawk carries a manufacturer's suggested retail price of approximately $1,549 and commonly sells around $1,050 on the street. The obvious response might be to shorten the barrel, but the next revolver proves that solving one problem can sometimes create another. Focusing on the 4-inch and 5.5-inch versions, the standard Ruger Redhawk occupies a very different niche. If the Super Redhawk resembles a diesel truck, the Redhawk feels more like a forged steel anvil. Introduced during the late 1970s, it quickly earned a reputation for extreme durability in harsh wilderness and environments. Unlike the Super Redhawk, it uses a more traditional frame profile, making it easier to carry and noticeably faster to draw. The revolver has no problem digesting the heaviest hard-cast hunting ammunition available. Ruger built it to handle punishment. Its internal design uses a single heavy coil spring to power both the hammer and trigger return system. That approach simplifies the mechanism and reduces the number of small components inside the gun. But that same design introduces the revolver's biggest weakness. The double-action trigger pull is notoriously heavy and tends to stack significantly as it approaches the break point. Under ideal range conditions, that may not be a major issue. Under stress, it can become a serious obstacle. When adrenaline takes over, fine motor skills deteriorate. Shooters begin yanking on the trigger instead of pressing it smoothly. As resistance increases throughout the pull, the tendency to jerk the muzzle downward becomes stronger. The result is a revolver capable of tremendous performance, but demanding enough that it can work against the shooter during a high-pressure encounter. The Redhawk's strengths include outstanding durability, compatibility with virtually any commercial .44 Magnum load, and practical barrel lengths that balance carry comfort with performance. Its drawbacks include bulky factory grips and a heavy trigger pull that requires dedication and practice to master. The Ruger Redhawk has a manufacturer's suggested retail price around $1,419, with typical street prices near $1,090. And now we enter the top 3. These are the revolvers that best balance power, control, and real-world survivability. When most people think of the .44 Magnum, they think of the Smith Wesson Model 29. Hollywood played a major role in creating that reputation, but outside of movie screens, the revolver earned respect for legitimate reasons. Built on Smith & Wesson's classic N-frame, the Model 29 offers a level of balance that many competing designs struggle to match. Particularly in 4-inch to 6-inch configurations, the weight remains centered over the shooter's hand rather than dragging heavily toward the muzzle. That balance translates into faster presentations and quicker sight acquisition. The double-action trigger is also smoother than many competing revolvers, making it easier to manage under stress. However, the Model 29 remains a traditional design with a few limitations. The classic blued finish requires regular maintenance to prevent corrosion. Exposure to sweat, moisture, and harsh weather can quickly create problems if neglected. Traditional wooden target grips also present challenges. While they look fantastic, they are not ideal for controlling heavy recoil. Their shape can cause the revolver to shift in the hand during firing, forcing shooters to rebuild their grip between shots. Another mistake many shooters make is relying on the exposed hammer during stressful situations, attempting single action shots when they should simply be running the gun in double action. The Model 29 delivers excellent balance, a smooth trigger, substantial power, and comfortable carry characteristics. Its downsides include the maintenance demands of blued steel, the exposed hammer, and grip geometry that can become uncomfortable during rapid fire. Manufacturer's suggested retail price generally sits around $1,179, while street prices often range from $1,100 to $1,300, depending on configuration. The modern Colt Anaconda, particularly in 4¼ inch and 6-inch configurations, represents one of the most refined approaches to controlling heavy Magnum recoil. If the central challenge of a survival revolver is maintaining control under stress, the Anaconda addresses that challenge exceptionally well. The modern version features a strengthened frame, substantial underlug, and Colt's robust linear leaf spring action. The revolver is heavier than many competitors, but that weight is distributed intelligently throughout the gun, and that weight distribution is the secret. When firing powerful .44 Magnum ammunition, the Anaconda produces a different recoil impulse than many revolvers. Instead of delivering a sharp upward snap, it tends to push straight back into the shooter's palm. That straight line recoil is easier to manage and less disruptive to sight alignment. When stress, fatigue, and adrenaline begin affecting performance, the Anaconda's mass helps stabilize the gun and maintain control. The heavy front end naturally encourages a steady sight picture, while the trigger system avoids the severe stacking associated with some competing revolvers. The result is a platform that remains forgiving when shooting fundamentals begin to deteriorate. Its strengths include outstanding recoil control, excellent durability, and a trigger system that encourages smoother shooting under pressure. Its disadvantages include a premium price tag, substantial weight, and a slightly larger cylinder profile that can complicate holster selection. The Colt Anaconda carries a manufacturer's suggested retail price around $1,699 and typically sells near that same figure depending on availability. Taking the top spot is the Smith Wesson Model 629, particularly in the 4-inch to 6-inch barrel configurations. This stainless steel evolution of the classic end frame represents one of the most balanced and practical .44 Magnum revolvers available for wilderness carry. When everything goes wrong, success comes down to control, balance, and the ability to place accurate shots under pressure. The Model 629 excels in all three categories. From an engineering standpoint, the 4-inch version strikes an outstanding balance between recoil management and portability. It carries enough mass to absorb the punishment of heavy .44 Magnum loads while remaining compact enough for a rapid draw. The stainless steel construction also provides a major advantage over traditional blued revolvers. Rain, snow, sweat, and harsh environmental conditions become far less concerning. But the biggest advantage lies in the trigger system. Smith & Wesson's double-action triggers have long been considered among the best in the revolver world. They are smooth, predictable, and consistent throughout the pull. That consistency helps shooters maintain sight alignment and execute accurate shots under stress. Modern rubber grips further enhance the package by helping absorb recoil and reducing movement in the shooter's hand. Instead of twisting violently during recoil, the revolver tends to remain more stable and controllable. The Model 629 isn't simply powerful. It's power that most shooters can realistically manage. Its advantages include excellent balance, corrosion-resistant construction, superb trigger characteristics, and wide aftermarket support for holsters, speed loaders, and accessories. The disadvantages are relatively minor. It remains heavier than most modern polymer handguns, and extremely high round counts with heavy hunting loads can eventually accelerate wear on internal components, though very few shooters will ever reach that threshold. The Smith Wesson Model 629 carries a manufacturer's suggested retail price, around $1,189, while street prices commonly settle near $1,050. For most shooters seeking a practical .44 Magnum Survival Revolver, it represents one of the strongest overall packages available today. At the end of the day, the most important lesson has nothing to do with brand names, barrel lengths, or marketing claims. When everything is calm, nearly any .44 Magnum revolver can perform adequately. When everything goes wrong, control becomes king. A bare defense revolver is not a magical object that guarantees safety. It's a mechanical tool that depends entirely on the shooter's ability to deploy it quickly, control it effectively, and place accurate shots under extreme pressure. One of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming raw caliber power automatically translates into real-world stopping capability. It doesn't. If you can't draw the revolver efficiently, maintain a secure grip, or manage the trigger without disturbing your sights, all that power means very little. Real survival encounters are fast, chaotic, and terrifying. Fine motor skills disappear. Adrenaline takes over. The revolver you choose should help compensate for those human limitations rather than magnify them. So take an honest look at the revolver sitting in your safe. If a dangerous animal suddenly appeared 10 yards away, are you confident you could draw it, control the recoil, and deliver accurate hits before the situation closed in on you? Or are you relying more on the caliber stamped on the barrel than your actual ability to run the gun? Stay safe, stay prepared, and I'll see you in the next one.